Oluyole state government have arrived in Ibadan. This was contained in a statement issued by the Commissioner for Information, Prince Dotun Yilade. He said the arrival of the aircraft marks another step in the state's effort to strengthen security operations through improved intelligence gathering and aerial surveillance. The commissioner recalled that the Oyo state government announced the purchase.
The president described the attack as barbaric and cowardly, warning that perpetrators would face justice. He said the criminal elements seeking to undermine the hard-earned peace and improved security being enjoyed in Kaduna State would be decisively dealt with. The president extended his condolence to the bereaved families, Kaduna State Governor Uba Sani, the state government and the people of Kaduna over the tragic incident. He also assured the state government and the affected communities of the federal government support, stressing that his administration remained committed to confronting security challenges across the country.
No fewer than 16 persons have been killed in renewed attacks on communities in Benue State by suspected armed herdsmen, with several others sustaining serious injuries in separate incursions across Otokpo and Kwande local government areas (LGAs). The attacks, which occurred between Monday and Tuesday, also saw the assailants cut away motorcycles from fleeing farmers. The deadliest assaults occurred in the early hours of Tuesday when the attackers reportedly stormed the Efeyi community in the Ugboju district of the Otukbo local government area, killing at least 14 people and leaving many others with gunshot wounds. The chairman of Otukbo local government area, Mr. Maxwell, confirmed the attack and said 14 bodies had so far been recovered, while many injured victims were receiving treatment.
The Abia state government has condemned the killing of an Abia-born Nigerian, Chika Ibe, from the Lapoku Uwanuchi local government area, who was allegedly killed by members of the South African Police Service in Cape Town. In a statement signed and released today by the Special Advisor to the Governor on Media and Publicity, Ferdinand Ekeoma, the state government said it received the news with shock and deep sadness. Ekeoma noted that the killing came on the heels of reports that another Nigerian, Ekwabo Patrick, was also shot and is currently receiving treatment for severe injuries. The state government joined the federal government in demanding a swift, transparent and independent investigation into the killing. It also called for the identification, arrest and prosecution of the perpetrators.
3 persons have been confirmed dead, while 12 others were rescued alive following the collapse of a 3-story mixed-use building at OGS bus stop, Baale Road, Ajuwon, Ogun State. The Lagos State Emergency Management Agency, LASEMA, which joined the rescue operation at the request of the Ogun State government, said the rescued included residents trapped beneath the rubble after the building collapsed on Monday. The agency added that the search and rescue operations were still ongoing as emergency responders worked to account for other possible victims trapped beneath the debris. LASEMA said it deployed its elite response team and heavy-duty rescue and recovery equipment to the scene on Tuesday on the directive of Lagos State Government Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu to support the Ogun State government rescue effort. The permanent secretary of LASEMA, Dr. Olufemi, urged the public to stay away from the scene in order to allow rescue personnel unrestricted access, while also calling on property owners and developers to comply strictly with building regulations and carry out periodic structural integrity tests to prevent similar incidents.
The Court of Appeal in Abuja on Tuesday nullified the judgment of the Federal High Court ordering the Independent National Electoral Commission to deregister the African Democratic Congress and 4 other political parties. In a unanimous judgment delivered by a 3-member panel of justices led by Justice Abba Mohammed, the appellate court held that June 15 judgment of the Federal High Court was nullity, having been delivered without jurisdiction. The appellate court held that the trial court wrongly assumed jurisdiction and made an order on an incompetent suit filed by a non-juristic entity. The appellate court further held that the trial court failed to properly evaluate the evidence before it, noting that proof showing the parties had won various elective seats in previous elections was ignored. The affected parties are the African Democratic Congress, Action People's Party, Action Alliance, Accord Party, and Zenith Labour Party. The appellate court declared that all affected political parties remain duly registered.
This broadcast of Newscope comes to you from the Broadcasting Corporation over your state, Ibadan. The National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control, NAFDAC, has reaffirmed its commitment to the full enforcement of the federal government's ban on alcoholic beverages packaged in sachet and polyethylene terephthalate PET bottles below 200 milliliters. The Director General of NAFDAC, Professor Mojisola Adeyeye, described the enforcement as a critical public health intervention designed to protect children, adolescents, and other vulnerable groups from the harmful effects of alcohol abuse. She said the agency would no longer tolerate violations of the ban, stressing that the enforcement exercise is in line with Senate resolutions directing NAFDAC to implement the policy without any further extension. She urged manufacturers, distributors, retailers, and members of the public to comply with the regulation and also report any continued production, distribution, or sale of banned alcoholic products to NAFDAC.
Millions of people across the globe are marking World Hepatitis Day today by raising awareness about the viral hepatitis and the importance of prevention, early detection, and treatment. The 2026 theme, Hepatitis, Let's Break It Down, highlights the need to improve public understanding of the disease, encourage testing, and expand access to prevention and treatment services. PCOS reporter Fidora Folagboyi has the details.
Hepatitis is an inflammation of the liver caused mainly by viral infections. Although excessive alcohol consumption, certain medications, and exposure to harmful toxin can also damage the organ. If left untreated, the disease can result in life-threatening complications such as liver cirrhosis and liver cancer. Health experts say one of the greatest challenges in combating hepatitis is that many infected persons are unaware of their status because the disease often progresses without noticeable symptoms. They note that early diagnosis through routine screening remains key to effective treatment and improved health outcomes. Speaking with BCOS News, the Director of Health Services, University of Ibadan, Dr. Aderonke Ajav, said hepatitis can be transmitted through contact with infected blood and body fluids, sharing contaminated personal items such as razors and toothbrushes, as well as unprotected sexual intercourse. She added that the virus can survive outside the human body for some time, making it highly infectious. Dr. Ajav advised members of the public to maintain good personal hygiene, avoid sharing personal items, undergo hepatitis screening before marriage, and remain faithful to one's sexual partner as practical steps to reduce the risk of infection.
If there is a cut or a break in skin, somebody, body fluids, contact with body fluids of infected persons, and it is one of the ones that lasts long on surfaces, the virus, so that if communicated to that surface from the fluid from his or her body, somebody else who comes with that can catch it. And if all those things we say people should observe, wash your hands frequently, not because you think you are dirty, just that there is opportunity. You haven't washed your hand in a while, 2-3 hours of the day. There is water, there is soap. Wash it. You don't know who you shook, you don't know the surface you touched, you don't know whose bag you collected, who opened the door that you opened immediately after, and so on like that.
Also speaking with BCOS News, a public health officer, Mr. Segun Olayinka, said misconceptions about hepatitis continue to hinder efforts to control the disease, as many people underestimate its severity and mode of transmission. He explained that hepatitis often present with non-specific symptoms similar to those of common illnesses such as malaria, making regular testing and vaccination essential for early detection and prevention.
If you are not tested, there's no how you know, because some of the symptoms of hepatitis, especially hepatitis B, manifest are common symptoms that diseases like malaria, like typhoid also manifest, like fever, headache, loss of appetite and things like that. The only way one can actually be certain if you are infected with hepatitis is only when you go for screening. So you could manifest normal symptoms like malaria symptoms and other infections. That is not even enough to suspect hepatitis. So the symptoms are not specific. However, they are just general symptoms that one can manifest.
The experts called on religious and community leaders, healthcare providers, and other stakeholders to intensify public enlightenment campaigns on hepatitis prevention, screening, and vaccination. They also appealed to government, development partners, and philanthropists to make hepatitis vaccine more affordable and accessible, noting that the high cost of vaccination remains a major barrier for many people seeking protection against the disease. Fedora Afolagbe, BCOS News.
The Oyo State government says it remains committed to accountability and transparency in the management of public funds, but insists that anti-corruption agencies must operate within the limits of the law. The Oyo State Commissioner for Justice and Attorney General Barrister Abiodun Aikomo stated this while featuring on the BCOS Current Affairs Yoruba program, Kutu High. Our man Bodia Kinjola monitored the program and files in the details as presented by Adebayo Abdurafi.
Tuesday's edition of the BCOS Live Current Affairs program Kutuhai examined the Federal High Court judgment restraining the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission (EFCC) from proceeding with its planned investigation into the finances of the Oyo State government. Speaking on the program, the Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice in Oyo State, Barrister Abiodun Aikomo, said the Nigerian Constitution clearly defines and limits the powers of public institutions. He stressed that while agencies such as the EFCC have statutory responsibilities, those powers must be exercised.
Government knows that you are accountable. Government is about accountability. So the Oyo State government is not afraid of its books being reviewed by anybody. But what we were saying is that you cannot be breaking the law while trying to enforce the law. EFCC just made a blanket request for documents from the state government, and we consider that the request is not in accordance with the law. So we wrote to the EFCC to specify the documents they wanted, the specific allegations they were investigating, and we didn't get any response. So we went to court, and the court ruled in our favor to the effect that the request by EFCC was not in accordance with the law.
Barrister Aikomo explained that the Oyo State government approached the court after the EFCC allegedly failed to respond to its correspondence on the matter. He maintained that the state government has nothing to hide, adding that all contracts are awarded and executed in line with due process and established legal procedures.
If you must make a request, you must make that request in accordance with the law. The Constitution presumed that we are innocent. The Constitution gave us right against self-incrimination. So if you tell anybody, go and bring documents from 2000, all your documents from 2021 to date, what does that mean? What the law knows is we are investigating a case of XYZ against you. Consequently, please provide us 1, 2, 3 documents that are connected to the transaction. So it helps you to meet the case, but not when you fish and tell people to go against their interest. That is not the way the law works, and that is our position.
The State Attorney General reassured residents that the state government remains committed to transparency, accountability, and strict compliance with due process in the execution of all public projects.
On the foreign scene, Uganda's Minister of Health today declared the country Ebola-free following the East African nation's latest outbreak of the viral disease, which affected 20 people and claimed 2 lives. Uganda has experienced multiple Ebola outbreaks since 2000, when it recorded its first epidemic. However, health officials said the country has over the years developed the expertise needed to bring recent outbreaks under control quickly with limited community transmission. Health Minister Chris Bayomusi said the declaration followed the successful completion of the mandatory 42-day monitoring period, which began after the discharge of the last Ugandan national infected through local transmission on June 16, 2026. According to the minister, the 20 confirmed cases recorded during the outbreak, 18 patients recovered and were discharged, while 2 died from the virus. Officials said Uganda's many tropical forests, which are home to fruit bats and natural reservoirs of virus, make the country vulnerable to recurring outbreaks.
To end this edition of Newscope, here again are the main points. The much-awaited security surveillance aircraft procured by the Oluyole State government have arrived in Ibadan. The aircraft are expected to support security agencies, including the Amotekun Corps and other relevant formations in monitoring criminal activities and improving response efforts across the state.
President Tinubu has directed the armed forces, the Nigerian police force and other security agencies to intensify operations in Kaduna State, apprehend those behind the Naridon village attack, rescue abducted victims and restore peace.
The Court of Appeal in Abuja on Tuesday nullified the judgment of the Federal High Court ordering the Independent National Electoral Commission to deregister the African Democratic Congress and 4 other political parties.
The National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control, NAFDAC, has reaffirmed its commitment to the full enforcement of the federal government's ban on alcoholic beverages packed in sachet and polythene terephthalate PET bottles below 200 milliliters.
Uganda's Minister of Health today declared the country Ebola-free following the East African nation's latest outbreak of the viral hemorrhagic disease, which infected 20 people and claimed 2 lives on the foreign scene.
If you see something suspicious, alert the authorities immediately for timely response. Be vigilant. And that's all from Newscope Desk for now, and it was packaged by Kehinde Adeyemi and delivered by
Tabitha Komolafe.
I am Aditu.